In a former life, I used to be a field technician for large format electrostatic printers. And inside those printers, they use very high voltages to transmit toner from a developer area to the paper and fuse it on there. That's how the copy's made. Now, this board that I have here in front of me is a power supply. It's a secondary power supply, and its job is to take 24 volts from this red wire right here and convert it into 600 volts coming out of these charge ports here to charge the drum and developing unit up to the proper levels. So we talked about a lot of the components that were on this board here today already. We can see that we have right here, we have some resistors in there, and you can see that they're color coded with their color bands. We have in here some potentiometers, these guys right here, we abbreviate them as POTS, and I could use a screwdriver there to change the resistance value of the potentiometer that's in there. We also have some diodes. This guy right here is a diode, and these guys here I think are also diodes. We have capacitors, and we have a bunch of different kinds here. We've got some electrolytic capacitors. These are filled with an electrolytic fluid that separates a film on the inside, like a foil. And these guys, when they fail, you can see these ones have scores on the top of them. They'll actually pop open. It can actually eject hot oil, fluid out of the top of them when they fail. This is a film capacitor, and even back over here on this side, you've got some ceramic disc capacitors. They'll have their strengths and weaknesses and uses in this circuit that we have. Also on the board, we got a big transformer. This is the one that is taking in this 24 volts and ramping it up for that higher voltage that's needed. Over here, there's a couple of transistors. Those are performing some switching for some purpose in this board. And so the reason I'm showing you this, from a diagnosis standpoint, is that you can look at these components and have an idea of what they're doing in the circuit. And if there's a problem with this board, you might be able to identify that problem based on what you know the board is supposed to do. So like these resistors, we showed that a resistor gets hot when it's working, and if it overheats, it's going to burn up. You'll see a brown scorch mark there in the board. You could put your multimeter across the leads of the resistor and determine if it's reading the right resistance. If the resistance on my screen is not within 10% of the color bands on there, I know that there's a problem with that resistor. Am I going to pull that resistor out of there and try to solder a new one in the board? Probably not. Not with modern equipment. You're going to buy another board. But at least having these little diagnostic tools available to you, you can identify that the problem is definitely with the board, and replacing it will probably solve your problem. That's where you want to try and eliminate the parts cannon strategy and really identify exactly what's wrong with what you have. So this resistor here, I can check its value with the power off right across the leads of it, and it'll read what it's supposed to read. This is saying 9.75 kiloohms or 1,000 ohms. These guys here, these are also resistors. You can see they're a little bit bigger, and they actually have their resistance value written on them because they're bigger. And these ones here are made to handle more power. They're bigger. So these are 2-watt resistors here, and I believe it says on these that they're 22 ohms. So if I put my thing across them, I'm seeing 0.4 here. It's in the circuit, so I might be getting some resistance across something else. 0.4 ohms in those. It's just a little thing to show you, what sort of things you might encounter.